For many people, driving a car until the wheels fall off can be a bit of a point of pride. It's a sign of not only how well you take care of your belongings, but potentially how resourceful you are, how not materialistic you are. I mean, look no further than yours truly. I mentioned my 1997 Toyota 4Runner approaching 400,000 miles any chance I get. Now, I'm only partially kidding with this statement, but in all seriousness, having the ability to keep your car as long as you need to can in many ways be a point of freedom. If you can drive a car until the wheels fall off, it gives you the ability to choose whether or not the financial obligation of a car payment is something you truly want. And for many people, this means living their lives with little to no car payments or depreciation costs, which can do wonders for someone's financial situation. But it looks as though those days of driving cars for potentially decades at a time are a thing of the past. And the days of owning cars older than your friends, coworkers, or family members, well, those days are over and we're cooked. Recently, I was reading an article from The Atlantic titled "My Car is Becoming a Brick" by Andrew Mosman, and it inspired me to make this video, and I will have the article linked in the description below. And the reason why this article specifically struck a chord with me is because the way that cars and technology are intertwined together and the potential unintended consequences of that is something that I think about all the time. Not to bring up my 97 4Runner again, but I think it's the perfect example. My daily driver is 28 years old. It's actually older than my employee Todd, and it's still pretty damn nice. Sure, we've done a lot of work to it, but over the years, we've added new leather seats with a heating component. We've added an old school style radio that has Bluetooth integrated. And since the car was fully loaded for its time, it features many of the components that you would expect in today's cars, like automatic locks and windows, electronic seats, and more. And while this car is no doubt lacking some of the components that you may expect from a newer car, for example, like some of the same safety features, and whenever you get in my 28-year-old car, you obviously know that it is an older vehicle. But from a feature perspective, I think it's aged quite well, especially considering the fact it's a grandpa car. But as I mentioned a couple of times thus far, I do worry that these days are over. With cars leading more and more into software and technology, are the days of driving a car until the wheels fall off over? Well, let's take a look at a couple of examples. Whenever we look at aging cars, we have to look at two different categories of why cars are aging the way that they are. The first is being the result of technology aging. For better or for worse, technology gets antiquated, and that's no one's fault but innovation. Think the original personal computer compared to the modern day laptop. But the other type of aging is more man-made. Think of it like your iPhone getting slower right after a new iPhone is released, or new features only being available on the newest, hottest devices. This is more of the fault of the company, or at least the doing of the company. And depending on the pace of new features being rolled out, technology can either slow down or speed up the aging of a device, or in this case, a car. And given the fact that technology is more and more integrated into the cars that we buy, as technology comes and goes, our cars come and go along with it. Let's first take a look at Tesla. Tesla, in my opinion, has aged very well over the years, and to many average Joes, you probably couldn't tell the difference between the 2018 Model 3 and the newer ones. Even touchscreen and interior, which in some cases are approaching 7 years old for the Model 3, they look incredible. And while Tesla has been able to keep even their oldest Model S's feeling sharp and new with software updates over the air, one complaint that I've heard from some Tesla owners is Tesla's new AI integration, Grok. Tesla has a somewhat new AI integration, and by new I mean it's come out in the last couple of years, and this is called Grok. Think of it similar to like an Amazon Alexa or Apple Siri. But unlike many of the over-the-air updates that Tesla owners have gotten over the years, Grok is only available on specific Tesla models. And according to Tesla's own website, Grok is available for Model S, Model 3, Model X, Model Y, and Cybertruck vehicles with the following: an AMD processor, vehicle software version 2025.26 or later, and premium connectivity or Wi-Fi connection. And whenever you look at what types of Tesla vehicles fit this parameter, it is for the most part Teslas that were made 2021 or newer, or in some cases 2022 or newer. So this feature is only available on newer Teslas, not to mention the fact that it requires premium connectivity, which is a monthly subscription, which is something that I absolutely hate, but that's not what this video is about. And a quick search online shows that people are annoyed about how much Tesla is pushing this new AI feature, despite the fact that for many people, they don't even qualify for it. But that's not all. A huge feature that has in recent years gone away that had a significant impact on vehicle owners is the disappearance of 3G. Now, you may remember when this happened because it really wasn't that long ago and it affected a ton of cars in the market. 3G was introduced in the early to mid 2000s, and it powered things like navigation, OnStar, basically anything that required connectivity, and vehicles really leaned into this for these types of features. But in 2022, companies like Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint stopped supporting 3G because it became antiquated, and as a result, many automakers had to discontinue these features that relied on 3G. And cars from Acura to Audi, BMW, Ford, Tesla, Volkswagen, there were a ton of automakers that stopped supporting 3G. And I'll include a list from Car and Driver here on the screen. But as a result of 3G support ending, features that needed 3G were no longer available to use in these cars. Now, for some automakers, they did offer incentives or remedies that you could opt into in order to kind of offset this loss. For example, in Tesla, you could upgrade your modem for just a couple of $100s. For other automakers, they would give you a rebate to compensate you for the fact that you were losing this feature. But in other cases, there was really nothing that you could do at all. And I'm not necessarily dogging the automaker in this scenario because I definitely recognize that this was more so on AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint, and it made sense that these carriers were stopping supporting 3G because of the fact that it was so outdated. However, it does point out a glaring issue with vehicles that rely on heavy technology. As technology advances, what happens whenever that technology and thus that vehicle become obsolete? Well, in the case of these vehicle owners who own vehicles that were affected by the 3G discontinuation, they were basically no longer able to use a feature that in many cases they may have paid for, which kind of sucks. Another great example that could definitely be argued is more perception than reality is battery degradation. Battery degradation is a hot topic when it comes to electric vehicles, and this is something that is a major concern for car buyers who are considering an EV for their next purchase. And while some people believe battery degradation isn't much of an issue at all, for others, it's a reason why they aren't buying an EV. Now, according to recent studies, the average battery degradation is about 1.8% per year over the lifetime of that car. And similar to depreciation with a vehicle, a battery actually degrades more rapidly at the beginning of its life and then slows down as the vehicle gets older. And as electric vehicles have become older, there are a ton of studies that have been released that have shown that battery degradation actually isn't much of a concern at all. Sure, in some cases it can be a problem, but in many other cases, there are EVs that are driving 10, 15 years with hundreds of thousands of miles on their original batteries. But of course, perception is reality for many people, and the perception with EVs is that battery degradation is a problem, and it is a hurdle whenever car buyers are looking to consider these types of cars for purchase. And I think that the battery topic is an interesting one because in many cases, if you have a car that you've owned for 10, 20, 30 years and have driven hundreds of thousand miles with that car, you're going to have to at some point replace that engine, and you could view a battery the equivalent to an engine, so it's not going to be any different with an electric vehicle, but for some reason, people do view it quite a bit differently. I do think that's due to the technology component here. But batteries aren't the only concern of cars. We also have cars that have begun to lean in very heavily into tech. And honestly, I think that this is the biggest culprit whenever it comes to technology potentially being a long-term issue with vehicles. You look at modern-day cars today, and it feels as though no matter what make and model you look at, they feature very similar things. Large and excessive screens. For higher-end models, there's self-driving or autonomous driving, subscription features, app integrations. As the adoption of the single-screen car has become so incredibly popular, more cars are beginning to rely on software instead of hardware. And my problem with this is that no matter how many over-the-air updates that you give, at some point that software is going to begin to feel outdated. It's going to start lagging, start not working properly, and it's going to cause these vehicles to age incredibly poorly. And it really comes down to as simple as this. Electronic technology advances far too rapidly to be something that gets permanently integrated into a car that you may want to own for more than, say, 5 years or so. Every single piece of outdated technology was once the creme de la creme top-of-the-line tech. And now these tech items are hardwired into our cars and are in many cases not interchangeable, which means that modern cars in many regards are going to age like milk. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.